actually is. Hello and welcome to Overdrive, your weekly dose of everything from the world of auto. I am Soini Dutt. Now, armed with a 2 kg compressed natural gas cylinder as well as a 2-liter petrol tank, the Bajaj Freedom is the most fuel-efficient motorcycle you can get in the country as well as the world today. Now, is this the natural progression for commute motorcycles? Let's find out.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the new Bajaj Freedom, the motorcycle that's created quite a buzz online of late, and of course it is creating quite a stir in the 125cc commuter motorcycle space, primarily because this is the world's first motorcycle that actually runs on compressed natural gas. You heard that right, CNG. There's a 2 kg tank for that CNG storage just here under the seat, and you also have a 2-liter tank right here. It does run on 2 types of fuel, and of course it promises to take sustainable mobility to a different level altogether. Exactly how effective is it out on the road? We are about to find out. Up front you get an LED headlight, a front disc brake, and even some Bluetooth connectivity to answer calls and for some SMS alerts with the top spec model. The lower model shed the disc brake, LED headlamp and the Bluetooth function, and instead feature a drum brake and halogen headlamp. You have chunky looking Eurogrip tires on the 17-inch front and 16-inch rear. The smaller rear wheel is on account of Bajaj not wanting to compromise on suspension travel. There are these plastic panels on the front fork which add some meat to the front end, and it seems to bode rather well with the slightly bulbous tank section which houses the 2 liters of petrol on the right hand side and the airbox on the left. Pop open the fuel lid and you'll see that both the petrol and CNG fueling caps are neatly integrated under there. Atop the handlebar with its simplistic but durable feeling switchgear is the neatly laid out reverse LCD display that shows off the time, speed, gear position, trip with consumption readings and CNG fuel level reading. But this fuel level reading goes blank when you switch to petrol. There are also indicator lights that sit atop that show you what fuel the engine is running on as well. Moving behind, you have a rather long but flat 785mm bench seat which could, although not ideal or safe, seat 3 up easily. Beneath the seat you have the 2 kg tank nestled within the trellis frame which acts as a protective cage for this tank. The single 125cc engine is a stress member in this ordeal and is horizontally laid out to optimize space. There's a belly pan which adds to the rugged appearance of the bike as well. At the rear of the motorcycle, there are a couple of bolts near the tail lamp that allow you to dismantle the entire tail section and allow you to service or replace the CNG tank when unscrewed. Now, one of the outstanding bits about the Freedom has to be the design. I mean, not only is its style really nice, but then again, when you think, okay, 1,50,000 rupees on road for this top end variant, well, you think, okay, fine, Bajaj may have cut some corners somewhere, which they have in fact, but then it really doesn't go to show because all the work that has been done on this motorcycle has been thoughtfully executed, and the fit and finish level is really good. It's top notch on this one. So a commuter motorcycle that looks neat and tidy is always a good thing, right? But as always, the defining points of any commuter motorcycle are its rate of running efficiency and the level of ride comfort it provides. Now, this would be the first time I'd be filling up any vehicle with CNG, and the first time the pump attendants would be filling up a CNG-powered motorcycle, let alone actually seeing one. So it was a new and exciting experience for everyone involved. Yeah, so we've been riding the Bajaj Freedom for around 98 kilometers now in the city, and yesterday when we tanked up completely, although it's a 2 kg tank, well, it just managed to fill around 1.82 kgs of CNG in the tank completely because, well, it depends on the pressure at the pump. So yes, we've been running around the city for around 98 kilometers now, and it's time to fill up and get an estimate of what the mileage figure is all about. Now, considering a speedo and trip error, we estimate the mileage to be around 75 to 80 kilometers per kg of compressed natural gas, and we estimate that number to rise while riding efficiently out on the highway. Thankfully, everyone was so fascinated and curious seeing the new CNG Bajaj bike that they all let me skip the line and tank up right away. Not so sure if this would be the case in the months to come when the bike has been around for a while and people are used to seeing them about the place. So there's the question about that. Now that we have tanked up the Bajaj Freedom once again, we have a indication of what the mileage figure is all about, at least as far as the city is concerned, because we have been running around in the city a couple of days, and yep, now it has given them back a mileage of around 75 kilometers per kg, and that is really impressive, because if you consider the fact that if you have a 125cc ICE motorcycle, you can expect a mileage figure of around 50 to 60, depending on how you ride. But then again, this one 75 on a single kg, and that too the cost of 1 kg of CNG is around 73.5 rupees. So yes, all things considering, very impressed by the mileage figure of the Bajaj Freedom. And out on the highway, well, that number is just going to rise. While testing for petrol efficiency, we saw that the Freedom ran 50 kilometers to a litre of petrol. So it would be safe to assume that this bike is capable of running over 250 kilometers after combining the CNG and petrol average figures. Now the main difference here is the cost of petrol and CNG. Now petrol currently costs Rs 103.44 per litre in Mumbai and Rs 73.5 per kg of CNG. So if you compare the Freedom to a regular ICE 125cc commuter motorcycle, which would give you around 50 kilometers per litre, well, you'd spend around 517 rupees to cover 250 kilometers. Whereas with the Freedom, you'd technically be spending about Rs 147 on 2 kgs of CNG and around 206.8 on petrol to cover the same distance before running both tanks dry. So theoretically, you'd save around 163 rupees every 250 kilometers, which may not seem like a world-breaking number at first, but once you add it up over the years and kilometers that you'll be riding this one around, the amount of money that you'll end up saving is pretty substantial. So from our quick fuel efficiency test, we see that the Freedom is in fact the most fuel efficient 125cc motorcycle there ever was. So surely an engine of this efficiency must lack power, right? Well, the answer is a surprising and resounding no. And that's considering the motorcycle's basic kilometer crunching, commuter focused standpoint, of course. This is the first time Bajaj have actually come out with a horizontal layout for their single cylinder engines. And of course, it has mostly to do with the entire throttle body, the mapping, and of course, the layout as far as spacing is concerned. So now this engine makes around 9.5 PS of max power, 9.7 Nm of max torque, and obviously there are different throttle maps for your CNG and your petrols. Both maps are laid out to give you access to around the same amount of power. And out here on the road, at least at sea level, I didn't really feel a shortage of power at any point. Not even on the inclines that we came across in the city. Once you astride the Freedom, you are going to be roaming around town with a CNG tank under your posterior. Now, that of course is going to be alarming for many people, but then again, Bajaj have shown us that they have taken extreme measures to make sure that the CNG tank and of course you remain safe at all times. They have ridden a multi-axle truck over this bike and nothing has happened. The Freedom weighs in at 149 kg with a full tank of CNG contributing to around 17 kg of that number. It feels nice and light for the city and weighs up just about alright on the highway too. But what's better is this motorcycle seat, which gives you all the room you need to move around and make yourself comfy on long stints in the saddle. Bajaj have really done an outstanding job with this configuration, with the way this motorcycle is set up, because it doesn't end just at efficiency. The way this motorcycle is set up in terms of fit and finish levels, the ergonomics, the seat, it's all thoroughly thought through and well executed, and that's what Bajaj deserve a good pat on the back for. 1.5 lakh rupees on road. Well, this makes a very convincing package, and if you are in the market for a 125cc commuter, this should very well be the motorcycle that you should be looking at.
Well, the Freedom isn't just an experimental one-off motorcycle from Bajaj Auto. They do have plans to launch a few more motorcycles in the coming months with different displacements. We are pretty excited to find out what Bajaj Auto has in store for us. For now, though, let's press pause, take a break and come right back, because on the other side, we catch up with Martin Uhlarik, the head of design at Tata Motors. To know more, back, you're watching Overdrive. Now, as we count down to the hottest launch from Tata Motors this season, the Tata Curvv Coupe SUV, Kranti Sambhav was invited to the Tata Motors Design and Tech Studio in Birmingham to get a first-hand experience of how these cars are designed and also catch up with Martin Uhlarik, the head of design at Tata Motors.
So we're going to see the launch of Tata Curvv on the 7th of August. And before that, we have Martin with us. Thank you, Martin, for taking out time for Overdrive. First thing we wanted to understand, this is the first time you're coming with a coupe shape.
Yes.
What was the inspiration? Why did you think of doing that?
Yeah, when we were developing this, we came up with the idea. We saw a real trend globally with SUV coupes. SUV has now become the mainstream product globally, not just in any market, India as well. It's now the critical mass, and we cover pretty much every base size-wise, from a Punch to a Safari. So we felt like, what's next? Is there an opportunity to actually start fragmenting the SUV typology? And we thought, let's do a SUV coupe. And we actually decided that actually 4.3 meter space was right the sweet spot to actually get the biggest volume, biggest impact. Make a car that is emotional, dynamic, sporty, high tech, but at the same time offers all of that SUV traits that people really appreciate and are purchasing.
How did your design team coordinate on this? You have 3 different studios, I guess.
Yes, as always, we have 3 studios in India, in the UK, and in Italy. It was a global competition. The exterior came from a design by an Italian designer, interior from a designer from Pune. The car was developed and designed, for production here in the UK, but then actually a lot of it was developed in Pune, in the India studio.
If you could take us through the design process, how does it work?
Yeah, so when we have a design process, first is like coming up with the concept. This is the segment we think we should be going in, this is the typology. Sometimes that comes from product planning, sometimes it comes from design. I would say at the moment it's about a 50-50 batting average. And then it's a normal process. All 3 studios are briefed with the product, sketch phase, designers produce that. It's like now we've had football, Euro Cup. So it's like a World Cup, or in cricket, World Cup. There's the qualifying phase, everybody does a sketch. Then there's a selection, that's second round. People make a digital model. And we pick 6 exteriors, 6 interiors, and that goes into a scale model phase. Then you go to 3, and then you go to 2. By the time you're at 2, you're in the finals. And then both exterior and interior, that's in full size clay, and then we have a go with 1. From that brief, the KO, the kickoff, to the selection of the final theme is plus or minus 6 months. And then you need another year to productionize your winning design, exterior and interior, work with engineering, manufacturing, suppliers, feasibility, maintain the integrity of the theme that was picked, and hope that, all that hard work, that's where the hard work starts for a designer, is actually the perspiration to actually push your design through and argue why does this need to be like this, or why does that need to be like that. And it's all part of the design process.
Any design element where you had to fight it out to convince?
Hundreds, hundreds of examples. For instance, one example is the door handle. You see, we're going to be introducing a flush door handle. Originally, the car had a traditional door handle, and then we thought, it looks quite old. We've seen flush door handles on much more premium vehicles, but to bring it down to this price point was a challenge. There, a lot of people were for it, but there was also interest that were maybe saying, why don't we just use the traditional status quo door handle? Not only from a visual point of view, that this is, looks good, but also from an aerodynamic point of view.
So thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you for coming. I'm really glad to have been able to show you around.
We'll see you again at the launch.
We will.
Well, it's time to head into our final break here on the show. Coming up on the other side, we have a treat for adventurous 2-wheeler commuters. Stay with us, you're watching Overdrive. You're watching Overdrive. Now, earlier this year, Suzuki launched the V-Strom 800DE with the aim of adding a dash of adventure to your daily commutes. So we decided to find out just how much fun it actually is to ride on a daily basis.
Earlier this year, Suzuki showed us that they were getting a lot more serious with their mid-capacity adventure motorcycles with the launch of the V-Strom 800DE. Now, this motorcycle, of course, is priced at 10 lakh 30,000 rupees, and it is of course the successor to the V-Strom 650 XT, which was already sold out here in the country a couple of years ago. Now obviously this motorcycle has evolved in and improved over that motorcycle in terms of features and capability. Elsewhere abroad, you do have the option of getting your hands on the standard version of this motorcycle, which is the V-Strom 800 standard, but that is a more road focused motorcycle, and Suzuki have chosen not to give us that one, but the more off-road centric 800DE version. The V-Strom 800DE looks brilliant in this outstanding yellow color. It's got all the definitive cuts, creases and design cues that visually sync it in line nicely with the rest of the latest gen V-Strom bikes. There's an undeniable mass up front with all those plastic panels, but it gives the motorcycle a visual sturdiness that still manages to be easy on the eye. Now the V-Strom 800DE, obviously it does look very big and bulky, and that mostly has to do with the big 20-litre tank up front. So it's not as slender as something like the Transalp, and once you actually get on the bike, well, it still does feel a little imposing, and it will take a little more time to get used to because of the size and the weight, and it does feel a little top heavy in comparison to the Honda. It doesn't feel as balanced, and obviously because of that weight, it will take a little more muscling to get around, especially off-road. Now once you get astride, because of the shape of the seat, you'll feel like you're seated within the V-Strom 800DE rather than just on it, and that's not a bad feeling, to be honest. But it also tells you that this motorcycle was designed to be comfortable over long rides and in the city rather than set up for some hardcore off-road grinds in the stock setup. Now the parallel twin engine out here is the same 776cc liquid cooled unit that powers other street bikes around the world, at least the modern day Suzukis. Now yes, the 83 PS of max power might seem a bit modest on paper compared to something like the 92 PS of max power that the Honda Transalp produces, but then again, this engine still is a load of fun out on the road, and that's because it makes around 78 Nm of max torque, and it is available very low down the power band. On road, it may lack a powerful top-end whack of something like the Transalp, but that's just because the Honda motor feels so relentless in its power delivery higher up the power band. Because, well, that's the way it's configured. There's a good amount of power in the Suzuki motor too, just that you'll have to really ring it to catch up to the Honda if the two of you were in a sprint race out on the road. Off-road though, things will be very different. The Suzuki motor has more grunt on offer, and the electronics manage it all very well. Speaking of off-road scenarios, what deserves a mention is this bike's suspension setup, because it isn't often that you see a completely adjustable upside down fork and rear monoshock on a stock medium capacity motorcycle. There's quite a good amount of stock crash protection on there as well. Some really nice bits about the V-Strom 800DE are the fact that you do get a good amount of features in terms of guards. Now you have crash guards in the form of the knuckle guards and that bash plate, although it's plastic. Well, something's better than nothing, right? And of course you do get this small fly screen up front, which is adjustable, but then again you will have to use the Allen keys to actually adjust it the way you like. The suspension weighs up brilliantly out on the road, and you can set it up the way you want off-road too, which is great. But the Dunlop tires on there are a big letdown on this bike. Now I felt that the stock Honda Transalp, which has the same tires, is a motorcycle that is set up more for road usage rather than actual off-road rough stuff. And the V-Strom 800DE doesn't do the exact opposite. Just that it doesn't feel as punchy out on the highway, but it feels more capable off-road. And these tires though, off-road at least, over the relatively light, mushy stuff that I subjected it to today, were a big disappointment. Not very point your toes and go. It's got a nice narrow midsection which allows you to stand up and get a good grip and feel of things. And the handlebar is nice and wide, which gives you a good amount of leverage. And the engine as well, enough grunt to get you out of sticky situations. But the V-Strom, well, it still feels top heavy, which can be tricky when things go awry off-road. So in terms of ride features, you do get a decent amount of them because you have 5 levels of traction control, you have 3 ride modes which alter the way the power is delivered to the rear wheel, and you also have switchable ABS, which is great for when you're hitting those off-road trails. So as an off-road centric motorcycle, it's got just about enough of what you actually need in terms of usability. Overall, the V-Strom 800DE is a lovely machine that's built to take on all kinds of riding scenarios. It's just that when you're on the road, you'll find that it disguises its weight rather well and feels effortless to ride. When you're off the beaten path though, there will be times when it will require you to put some muscle into it. Now, on its own, the Suzuki V-Strom 800DE is a very well put together motorcycle, considering that it is a lot more off-road biased. So in terms of suspension, the comfort levels, the ride and everything, even the features, it really syncs together quite well. But then again, it is slightly on the heavier side. So larger riders will really fancy this one a lot more. And once you get used to the weight, and you're more in tune with off-road riding, you will really fancy this one with the amount of torque that this delivers. Now, of course, it is around half a lakh cheaper than something like the Honda XL750 Transalp, but that motorcycle comes with a lot more features. It is the more rider-friendly and more road-friendly as well of the two. But then again, this one, anything away from this engine, because it is a real hoot. It doesn't shy away from any excitement, and you will have a lot of fun in this one as well.
With that, it's a wrap on this week's edition of Overdrive. But remember, you can stay in touch with the team through our various social media platforms, and you can drop us a comment on YouTube as well. We'll see you next week. Until then, drive and